It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
That woman right there, convicted of stabbing her boyfriend to death, only gets a slap on the wrist. She faced the possibility of life in prison for stabbing him 108 times. But the judge ruling that she had no self-control while in a cannabis-induced psychosis. Todd Pyro is live in the studio with the shocking details. Todd.
This is a head-scratcher, Ainsley. The judge is sentencing 32-year-old Bryn Speecher to 100 hours of community service, 2 years probation, and the big one, no jail time. She broke down in tears after a jury convicted her of involuntary manslaughter last month. California judge claims she had no control over her actions after stabbing the victim, Chad O'Meala, 108 times. Psychiatrists in the case claim the incident was, quote, 100% caused by cannabis-induced psychosis after the 30.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, this story coming out of California is an absolute disgrace and a joke. This white lady, Bryn Speckler, this lady was sentenced to probation after killing her boyfriend, stabbing him 108 times with a knife. And yet she was found guilty by a jury, and a judge, a no good, low down judge, in my opinion, turned around and gave her probation, no jail time. It is because, in my opinion, she had the complexion for the protection. If this was a black woman who had killed anybody else, black or white man, she'd be on the way to San Quentin or Pelican Bay. This is strictly because this was a white girl who had the right complexion for the white complected judge that looked like her to show her some sympathy and mercy. You cannot show me anywhere in California where a black or brown woman stabbed her boyfriend over 108 times, an unprovoked attack, and a black or brown woman killed him. And that black or brown woman got probation. This is strictly a benefit for a white woman and a white judge who gave her a kiss on the wrist, not even a slap on the hand when she faced up to life in prison. This is a damn shame.
Well, she didn't face up to life in prison. She was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, which is far, far lower punishment range than murder, like you're suggesting. And I have tremendous issues with her sentence and what she was charged with. But your race to call this race contravenes the overwhelming evidence that it's an incredible liberal state. Now, Thousand Oaks, very affluent suburb surrounded by Calabasas, and in Westgate or Westlake Village, I was just out there a couple of weeks ago. It is for the rich people, but it's in Ventura County, which has like an interesting cross-section of people. So I don't think we can assume the race or the decision-making being driven by race of the judge.
Ain't no black folk in Ventura County running nothing. Let's not pretend they are.
There are plenty of African-American and Latin murder suspects or murderers in Los Angeles County who are not being prosecuted, juveniles not being prosecuted.
But when they are prosecuted and found guilty by a jury for killing somebody, show me what he got probation.
Newsom let tons of murderers out, but here's my real concern. I got a different concern. My concern is when you say, look, you can use drugs, and if you commit a crime, you can walk. And that's a problem.
If you're white.
She should not have been charged with involuntary manslaughter. You stab somebody 108 times to death. You know what we call that? We call that murder. And the very suggestion that you could say, hey, I was high on weed, wacky tobacco, oh, so it wasn't me. First of all, that's not how weed works. I don't know about you, but I've smoked my fair share of marijuana, and it makes you a lot nicer, not a lot meaner.
I too have had weed in my life.
Okay,
this is true.
And now crystallized methamphetamine might make you crazy. Coke, crack.
Never touched Sherman.
There are wet.
There was some good skunk.
Formaldehyde, whatever. That stuff will make you crazy.
No, see, you smoke formaldehyde.
No,
that's smoking
didn't.
fry.
What I'm saying is
that's smoking amp.
Fry and wet
I'm sure.
will make you crazy, do horrible things, right? Because I've represented people that is in my criminal defense practice.
They call it butt naked in the hood.
Butt naked, right? It'll make you get butt naked because you get real hot. That's what I had a client explain to me. But that'll make you hear people doing fry and killing people, right? People doing wet and killing people. You don't hear about
And
somebody
show me
smoking
one
over.
that killed somebody that got probation.
That's right, and that's my problem.
The only one you
If
can show is this pretty-looking white woman out of California.
I wouldn't go as
But
far as to
ain't
call
no
that
black
weirdo
women in
looking
California
one.
getting that kind of privilege.
I wouldn't call.
Ain't no Hispanic women getting that kind of privilege in California. This was strictly a benefit based on white privilege and the complexion for the protection. And she was initially charged with murder. The jury convicted her on the lesser included charge of manslaughter.
But the thing is that they allow that out there in California, right? The argument that intoxication, voluntary intoxication on drugs, should excuse criminal violence is insane. In the Pacific Northwest in Portland, they were trying to make it a statutory defense to prosecution. Oh, well, I was high on drugs. I can't be responsible for killing somebody. That's crazy, right? I don't care if you rob a store, beat your wife, whatever you do. Because let's play this math out.
The system is broke, Charles.
Let's play this math out a
It's
little bit further.
absolutely broke.
If she can do that with murder, right? So let's say you drink a bunch of cold beers, get behind the wheel, and kill a family of 4. Should you be able to argue, I didn't know what I was doing, I was drunk?
Maybe if you're white.
I was drunk.
Maybe if you're white.
Well, the whole math is insane. White, brown, black. And then stop acting like the People's Republic of California is a conservative state, because we both know it's not.
It don't matter. Liberal white folks, in the words of Minister Malcolm X, are some of the most dangerous white folks, your liberal white folks.
Okay.
And so liberal California act like they love black people, but ain't no love for us.
Oh, how do you assume that everybody thinks along racial lines just because you do?
Do you
right?
honestly believe that if she was black, she got probation?
She should not have been allowed.
That's not the question. If she was black, you think she got probation?
In the same situation, the same county, I agree.
You know what? You should run for office.
Okay, I probably should.
You could be
but
president.
But I'm not
The
gonna.
way you lying right
But
now,
I'm
you could
not
be
going.
president.
Oh, obviously, our criminal justice system has been designed systemically to oppress African Americans for decades. Now, in California and other places in America, it has shifted away from that. And what you're seeing, like you look at a lot of people charged in January 6th versus people charged for arson and other craziness during the Portland protests or for the attacks during the 2016 Trump inauguration, very disparate, right? The Justice Department seems to want to punish conservatives far more than it does liberals. So that pendulum has swung.
And that was
right?
a really watered down protest January 6th.
Yeah, it really was. But, I mean, it's inappropriate. They attacked officers. People should be going to prison.
I've been in much liver protests than that.
But people that are violent toward federal police or federal, they should all go to prison. It shouldn't just be the conservatives. But the math is changing in America, but it's not changing in the right way, right? We need fair. We need justice is blind, and we don't have that anymore. But she should never have been allowed
don't have it anymore.
by the law.
We don't have it anymore.
We never had it.
Oh,
I'll
thank
agree.
you. There you go.
So, but we should not be allowing criminal defendants of any race, of any gender, of any story to say, oh, I did something horrible. And I am pro legalizing drugs. But if you use drugs and you do something awful, you got to pay the cost.
I can agree with legalizing
she
natural
should be rotting in
marijuana.
prison.
I can agree with legalizing natural marijuana, but not any other drugs. No.
We need to legalize all. If you could get clean amphetamine, you never buy meth. If you could get clean opioids, you never buy fentanyl. There are housewives all over Thousand Oaks taking clean amphetamines, not methamphetamine. People buy methamphetamines to get the same result of amphetamines, right? Adderall, half of the colleges and high schools in this country, those kids are eating amphetamines, right?
Man, y'all some real dope heads. Good Lord.
Look, man, I want to legalize drugs so people can use clean drugs, but I don't think people...
Clean drugs?
But people should... All these people die from
Even
fentanyl.
pharmaceutical drugs are hurting and killing people.
I'm not saying they're not doing
But
horrible
clean
things,
drugs,
but they're not killing people like
natural
fentanyl.
herbs I can agree with, but cocaine, methamphetamine.
Weren't you just calling me a dopehead the other way because I use natural herbs?
Well, you use a lot of them the way you be talking.
Look, we need... Oh, there you go.
They'll give you that some stereotype joke, and you'll be like it's not a joke. It's something serious that you shouldn't be saying and everything. But then you'll get, oh, but we're Irish. We like to joke around. We like to make a laugh out of something, and that needs to change within the Irish community. As much as I am Irish, that's the one thing that it kind of annoys me. A person looks.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
We have seen a tidal wave of comments like this coming across Europe and the United Kingdom of people who have migrated there, many of them unlawfully, and taking issue with the cultures that they're confronted with. You had a politician who was elected in Scotland very recently go on about how there were too many white faces in the parliament and the governmental structure of Scotland, a country that is north of 95% Caucasian. So of course you're going to see a lot of white people. And unlike the United States, a nation built upon migration, right? A nation built upon multiculturalism, a nation built for everyone, right? Ireland, not the case, right? This is a woman of color, a Muslim woman, who is criticizing the realities of Ireland. And the cultural history of that beautiful nation, they like to break balls. They like to tease and taunt people. I've been to Ireland and I heard more jokes about my tall, pointy head than I'd ever heard in my damn life. Doesn't mean it's not a beautiful country, but it means those kind of jests are woven into the fabric of that wonderfully green isle. And for people that migrate, especially people that enter those countries by force, unlawfully, which of course the EU and the United Kingdom are applauding. Ireland's still part of the EU, unlike the rest of those islands around the United Kingdom. And we are in a situation where this mass migration has forced a ton of people to enter, because that's what the oligarchs want, right? That's what the World Economic Forum wants. That's what the powers that be want. They want more market participants and more cheap labor. But you have entire groups of people that are refusing to assimilate to cultures like Ireland and France and Belgium and the United Kingdom, and yet complaining and trying to tear it down. I think it's obscene. I think instead of complaining about Ireland, that woman should go there and become part of the wonderful country that it is.
And I truly believe that sister should speak out when she's being offended by men who are making inappropriate jokes.
Well, she didn't say that.
And
she just didn't like their humor.
And let me finish. This woman should be allowed to stand up in 2024 and say to men or people of any other culture that your jokes are offensive, they're inappropriate. It's wrong. I remember in America, the country you just bragged on about being a country for everybody, a country that celebrates multiculturalism. That's a lie. America is still striving to become that, but she's a long way from it. In this country, they used to make jokes of how black people eat watermelon. And they had posters and pictures of us as little babies eating fried chicken, showing all of our teeth with no shoes on. They had jokes with us eating fried catfish, barefooted, looking like savages with big lips. This was the joking satire and comedic satire of this nation. It was wrong, but this nation had to grow, it had to evolve to realize that's wrong and inappropriate. The people of Ireland should understand that women don't have to tolerate that same level of disrespect in the name of joking anymore. People don't have to tolerate racism, religious bigotry, sexism, and classism in jokes anymore. It is time that the people of Ireland evolve into the 21st century, into 2024, and start respecting other people who are offended by your cultural practice
absolutely
of
insane,
jokes.
What's absolutely insane, first off, I'm interested to hear that you think it's inappropriate to make jokes based on people's immutable characteristics or race, because you and a lot of people in America, they think it's wonderful to make fun of white people. You do it every damn week, right? And you love to employ stereotypical criticisms of white people. I've always been the one to object.
I didn't know I did that.
Of course you didn't. But here's the thing. You are actually talking about misogyny and sexism. This woman is in a hijab. This woman immigrated and fled from the Islamist world, where women are treated like second-class citizens. How would you like to go try to gussy yourself up? What was that, a white girl's movie? Gussy yourself up like a white girl, a Christian or an African-American citizen, Christian and female, and go to Saudi Arabia and walk down the street, and go to Iran, and well, you're not going to walk down the street unless you put a hijab on, because they're going to beat you and put you in jail, right? Why don't you go try to be a woman?
Do that in America.
Oh, you know what? No, they won't.
There have been
They
women.
won't.
There have been Muslim women.
Women don't have to wear headscarves.
There have been Muslim women attacked in America for wearing a hijab.
Oh my
there have
God.
been Muslim
Oh
women
my God.
assaulted for
Are
wearing
you
a hijab.
really trying
In fact,
to compare?
there have been some
Are
women
you gonna
in
lie
America
to
who are
these
Muslim
cameras?
that have
Are
lost
you
their jobs
gonna lie
because they
to
refuse
these
to wear a
cameras
hijab.
and act like?
And even when Muslim women have been asked, let me wear my hijab,
Be
they've
less
been told
full
you
of
will
crap.
either wear
Are you-
or lose your
are you
job.
seriously
there have been
acting-
Muslim students
Tell me when
who
you're done.
told they couldn't
Tell
walk
me
off
when
the
you're
stage
done
during
interrupting me.
graduation
Let me
if
know
they
when
wore
you're done
a
interrupting
hijab.
me.
Told that they couldn't
Let
fly on an
me
airplane
know
in America
when you're
if
done
they wore
interrupting
a
me with
hijab.
this BS.
So trust me, America's just as guilty.
Okay, the suggestion that America in 2024 is just as guilty of the same type of misogyny, sexism, and oppression of women as you find in Iran or you find in Saudi Arabia is just you lying through your damn teeth, right? This
It's
woman is
absolutely
not
no
allowed.
different.
Not allowed to
But
go
guess
out
what,
without a
though?
hijab.
There's
in Iran.
Muslim women who
are
can't
in
walk
prison.
down the street in America
bull.
with a
You
hijab
are
on
not getting
without
arrested.
being attacked.
You are not getting.
Don't even try it.
You're not getting arrested by the
Oh,
police.
you're wrong.
For wearing
You're
a hijab.
wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
There
You're
have been
lying.
Muslim women stopped by law enforcement.
Oh my God.
And questioned
Yeah, okay.
and had their belongings searched for wearing a hijab.
Is it illegal to wear a
By
hijab?
police
is
in
it
America.
Illegal? Stop lie. Is it illegal to wear a hijab in America?
No.
Absolutely not. Is it illegal?
Against the law.
Well, let me
but
finish.
it's illegal
Is
to
it
wear to
illegal?
some jobs.
Is it illegal?
It's illegal
for a woman?
to wear to certain
Is it a
parts
woman
of America when you get these rednecks.
I know you don't want to hear my
point. A lot
point
of rednecks
because
hate
you're
women
lying.
who wear hijabs.
You know what?
And assault women who wear hijabs.
You talk over me because you're lying, right? It's
have
illegal
last
for
word.
women to be out without a hijab on in Iran. It's illegal for women to drive cars in Iran. It's illegal for women to get educated in Iran. The same for Saudi Arabia.
one
The
country.
same for Afghanistan. The majority of the Islamist
not
world.
true.
You're a liar.
That's not true. Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia,
I thought I was
yes.
getting the last word in, liar.
Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia, yes.
Y'all don't even
But
pretend.
not the rest of the
You know
Muslim
what?
world.
People flee the Islamist world. They should embrace the Western world.
And America needs to embrace it. Well,
Endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician.
So you saw that and you thought what?
Ridiculous.
You know, many people think that he's vying to be a VP pick. We'll see. But what did you think when you saw that? I just love you.
Well, this notion that if he makes him VP, that black people are going to rush to the polls and vote for him, he's 100% incorrect.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, I watched a segment, wasn't even a segment, but I was watching the results of the New Hampshire primary. And I saw former President Trump come before the country and to celebrate his victory in New Hampshire. And behind him was South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. And brother Tim Scott, one of the most boot-licking, head-bowing, knee-bending, behind-kissing, scratch where he don't itch, laugh when nothing is funny, sell out, put back folks in the backland, and pick cotton Negro I've ever seen in my life. Tim Scott was asked by former President Trump, Nikki Haley appointed you to be senator. You must truly hate her to endorse me. And then you see Tim Scott looking like Steven on Django, looking like Chicken George from Roots, looking like Fiddler and Uncle Tom from Roots. This Negro does this. No, I don't hate her. I just love you. This Negro looked like Trump had given him a big basket, a bucket of fried chicken, and 3 extra buttered biscuits for the way he acted. Then to watch our brother Charles Barkley come before the world and say, that was ridiculous. Well, Charles, dear brother, you and Tim Scott are birds of a feather. Both of you bald-headed Negroes should be ashamed of your representation of black people. Charles Barkley has made disparaging remarks about black women compared to white women. Charles Barkley has made disparaging remarks about black culture and black people and black leaders. And so, Mr. Barkley, if you offended with Mr. Scott, and we all should be, I say, Mr. Barkley, take a look in the mirror, because neither one of you Negroes could ever dare call us speaking for black people, not even for some of us. So I'm upset with Mr. Scott, and I'm still disappointed with Mr. Barkley.
You know, I think there's a lot of bigotry going on here, but I don't think it's a typical type of bigotry. I think it's ideological bigotry. If a black politician, told Joe Biden that they loved him, everybody like, oh, that's sweet. We wouldn't hear Gail talking about it. We wouldn't hear Sir Charles talking about it. Everyone would just go on with their day. But because Tim Scott is a conservative supporter of Trump, everybody's going to demonize him. But I really didn't expect it. When we're talking about what we're going to talk about today, I didn't expect you to care about this because I see your MAGA hat sitting over there off the damn stage. You love you some Donald Trump. But yet you're going to sit on here with these cameras and sit here and condemn Tim Scott for doing the same. And that's insane. And Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley famously in the 90s said, you know what, I'm not a role model. I'm a basketball player. He's flirted, he's been a Republican, he's been a Democrat. But one thing Charles Barkley has always done is he's always authentically spoken his voice and his truth. And I'm not going to say he's always right, because nobody's always right, nobody's always wrong. But when you got it from Charles Barkley, you knew it was no BS. Now here, he's criticizing Tim Scott, and I think he believes that. I think he personally believes that Tim Scott was just a bootlicker and sucking up to Donald Trump. But the truth is that most people in Tim Scott's position, most politicians that have thrown their support behind a presidential candidate are liable to say the exact same stuff he did. And the only reason you're being critical of him, the only reason you're calling these horrible racialized names is because of the color of his skin. Well, you're sitting here being Charles, bigoted and self-loathing, and it's obscene.
Let me first address your nature.
Okay, my nature as a white man?
Your nature.
My nature as a white man. Let's hear it. Let's hear my nature as a white man.
Your nature is a grafted nature from Yaqub. But anyway, we'll talk about that in another
segment.
Wait, from
what? Wait, from what?
From Yaqub. But we'll talk about that in another segment.
Oh, another segment where you can demonize the demon white folk.
To the American
people. Demon white folk.
That I have a MAGA hat. I've never owned one in my life.
Oh, come on.
But I have snatched a few MAGA hats off a few white heads.
No, you haven't.
But I will say this,
You
Charles.
are voting for Trump.
Tim Scott.
You are in love
should be
Donald
ashamed
Trump.
of himself. Tim Scott, if Joe Biden, to take what's your analogy, if Joe Biden had a black senator behind him that said the same exact thing to a black senator that Trump said to Tim Scott, and that Negro senator, Democrat, started smiling like that and buck dancing and said, I just love you, I'd say the same exact thing about that sellout when address a Negro also, because Joe Biden is a racist. Do your history. Do your research on this man. Joe Biden is an absolute racist. There's no hiding it. The Democrats have done a very good job in tricking black people into believing, oh, he's changed. He's not the same person he used to be. That old racist white boy is who he is and what he's always been, a racist toward black folk. And he said it on the campaign trail, if you're not black, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Who in the hell are you, Joe Biden, to say something like that or make that analogy toward black people? So I don't care about any one of them. But what I do care about is that men like Charles Barkley and Tim Scott have done more damage, like Clarence Thomas, to the survival and upliftment of the black race.
That is absolutely obscene. It is the suggestion that black America isn't allowed, especially as a conservative like you are, isn't allowed to publicly espouse conservative values is obscene. Black people can support whatever ideology they want. Hey, look, here's the thing.
Let me show you what Tim Scott did.
Here's the thing. We're talking about.
I just love you.
You know what? But the
I
truth
love
is,
you, Master.
The truth
Master
is,
Trump, I love
Joe
you, Master
Biden wouldn't
Trump.
even have
That's
on
what
the
he did.
stage. If
That's
you
exactly
remember,
what he did.
during the last Democratic primary, because they're not having one now because they're just anointing Biden.
Donald Trump looked like a slave master, and Tim Scott looked like his favorite slave.
If you'll remember Kamala Harris's criticism of Joe Biden, it was absolutely appropriate. He is a racist, and you're a bigot too. Ladies and gentlemen, initially, I want to express my condolences and sympathies for the family of Chad Amelia, who was the victim, the murder victim of Bryn Specker. I want to say to America, I think we should legalize drugs in this country, but we should never allow somebody being voluntarily high on drugs. We should never allow that to be an excuse for a prosecution or a defense to prosecution or a mitigating factor for sentencing. You choose to ingest drugs, and you should be responsible for whatever the hell you do while you're high on drugs. Look, I have all kind of issues with Tim Scott and Donald Trump. I don't have any issue with him joking about how much he loves Donald Trump. The only reason Quanell was bothered by it and most of America was bothered by it is because Tim Scott is a conservative, Donald Trump is a conservative, and I really don't think people care. I think it's just an excuse to take a shot at him. Finally, let's talk about this woman in Ireland, right? People immigrating from the Islamist world are doing so, especially women, because the horrible oppression of women in the Islamist world. And for Quanell to sit across this table from me and suggest dishonestly, but the same degree of oppression goes on here in America, it's absolutely false. The truth is, a woman can't go out with her head not covered in Iran. The truth is, women are second-class citizens across the Middle East.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand that the people of Ireland should know that if your jokes offends a woman, offends her as a lady, offends her as a female, don't joke like that. If that's been your cultural practice of yesterday, realize that we are evolving as a people around the world. Times have changed, and let your behavior change. There was many practices that were cultural practices in America that joked and made fun of black people, but you don't see that today. America had to evolve and make changes. So I encourage Ireland to follow that example and start making some significant changes to make all people feel comfortable and wanted. You don't want your women offended and attacked by other races of people with those jokes. Don't do it to somebody else's mother, wife, sister, or daughter. Now, the woman in California, let's be honest, she had the complexion for the protection, period. That's what this is about. And unless we tell the truth that the American criminal justice system is broken, this stuff like this will continue to happen.
What you literally just called white people demons. Literally. You called white people demons.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.